Alright gang, it's time we redo the field strip, how to break the Archon Type B down. We got to redo this video, it's been a long time. We got a Gen 2 gun here, a few differences between the Gen 1 Archon Type B and the Gen 2. So let's get this thing broken down. First part is going to be a basic field strip. What you would do if you're going to clean it, we'll put it back together, and then we're going to do the full shebang and get into this thing to the nitty gritty. All right, let's get this gun field stripped. We'll release the mag, hit that button right there. Sure enough, we got nothing in the gun. You're going to have to press the trigger. Now I'm going to go ahead and press in the takedown pin. If you have your flag or anything, it helps a little bit. It's pointy enough just to press it in another millimeter so you can grab a hold of it right here. Now that's out. Now it'll just come right apart. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull the springs to relieve a little bit of pressure and pull up on the locking block. That'll come out. There's our progressive guide rod and spring system. There's the barrel. And there's our slide with the internals. So this would be considered field stripped. And then of course you can just run some lube. After you clean it, Q-tip it, do all the stuff you want to do to it here. I would lube that right there. And then I'd lube right where the sear is also, where the disconnector touches the sear. And then right underneath this sear where it's rubbing against the subframe. There you go, that's all there is to it, field stripped. All right, and we'll put it back together, reverse order. Pretty simple, just a toothbrush in here and some Q-tips is pretty good. And then of course punch in your barrel with a bore snake, whatever you have, any kind of Hoppe's generic or basic cleaning kit would do. Okay, so I just got the slide back on, I'm just gonna press back a little bit and then press a button at the same time. Sometimes it's a little stuck, just wiggle it a little bit, but just about 3/8 of an inch and then press it back in and sure enough it'll go back together. And then we'll do a function check. There we go. That is the field strip. All right, let's break this gun down all the way now, okay? You want to clean everything in this gun? Let's do that. Let's do this again. Press in the takedown pin, grab it from the other side, pull it out. Sure enough, slide comes off. Pull in the spring, drop the locking block, take out the barrel. I'm not going to take the sights off, but you are going to use a 2.5 millimeter hex key right here. Right into there. And now take a look inside there. You can see that right there needs to go down, and I'm going to turn it to set inside that ledge right in there. So I'm just going to go in, turn, and I'm going to leave it right there because I'm going to have that inserted down, plunged into that hole, so I can take the back plate off right now. I'm just going to take my thumb, put your other thumb over this or your hand, slide it off. This one was a little bit finicky. So I was pulling it out and it's getting crooked a little bit and getting hung up, but that time I just pulled it straight out. And there's your striker spring and then your guide pin. Okay, so let's put that there and then you can just kind of dump all of this out. Here you have your, what is this piece called? Firing pin, guide pin, firing pin, and your striker right here, and your bounce spring on top of that. And that all just fell right out of there. Now what I can do is get into here, and now I'm going to go ahead and turn it all the way this way. You'll see where that opening is right there. So I'm going to turn it counterclockwise until that pin is in this channel right here, because right now it's resting in between. There we go. And now it comes all the way out. There we go. This is your extractor entire assembly right there. So now the extractor should just fall. There we go. And there you go. Those are all the parts. That's the extractor when it's in the gun. It's sitting right in there. This is sitting up right behind it. And this is like so. That's how that goes into the gun. Okay? So we're almost done here. We're going to go ahead and take out the trigger safety. This is the safety so that if the gun was dropped and the striker got past the sear, then this would stop everything from happening. This would stop the striker from going, forward enough to protrude the hole and actually encounter the primer. All right, so we have two pieces here. All you want to remember is that this one goes up like that. So you put it together with these legs facing upward. All right, so actually let's take a look at this. All right, completely field strip. You could deep clean this, whatever you want to do right now. Maybe you'd want to take the front sight out. How do you do that? Glock front sight tool, just like this. Unscrew it, voila, comes right out. And then how do you get the sights off? Just use a little Allen key. Let's go ahead and measure that. See how many millimeters this key is. It's a 1.5 millimeter key that fits into those sights. So lefty loosey, then a vise, or for these sights, I mean, they're bulletproof, so you can just knock it right out of there. Okay, so that's field strip. There's your upper. I'm going to put the upper back together right now so I don't have all the pieces here, and then we'll do the lower in this space. Okay. Now, putting this back together, here's the trigger safety. These little legs facing up, just like so, just like that. And now this little spring ends facing up as well. Put the spring back in there. And then you can see how the leg of the spring is going to wrap right over that piece of metal. So it's resting on this piece of the bottom part of the trigger spring. Now you're going to see the way it holds tension is, see this little leg sticking out? It's important that they are facing upward because they need to slide down past the channel and it will not go on. It won't work right any which way. If you do it backwards, no matter what, it won't work. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press this in and hold it, and then it's going to fit right into there. Okay, here's the technique. Holding it with my, holding it together like so. Get it started into that right there, and then just press down. Okay, and you'll know that it's working because you have tension on that right there. Okay, so that's all good. And this has to be seated all the way, and this has to go in first before these parts can go in. So right now what I'm going to do is put the extractor and just hold it right there. And I'm going to take this entire setup. Now that I have a little tension on it, that extractor is not going to fall out now. Okay, reverse operation all the way in, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just turn it all the way because it's really stable when it's all the way in there. I'm going to put it back in between when I'm ready to put the plate back on. But if you're fiddling around with this, sometimes if it's not perfectly in the middle, it could shoot out. It could theoretically slide into the open channel here. I've never had that happen, but it could happen. This just makes me feel safer since I'm going to be working on the gun, putting in the rest of these parts. Okay, so now we have your bounce spring and your firing pin. You can put them in together, or you could just let the bounce spring go all the way down in there. So that's set. It's not going anywhere else. Now what I want to do is I want to get this one started and hold it right there. and then get this one started, and they have to go in together. This is going to rest right on that piece right there. They go down together like that. Okay? Boom, boom. There they go. They're sitting down there the way they should. The firing pin is resting up against the trigger safety that I had the tension on a second ago. So if I move this to the side, sure enough, the striker can go forward. And there you can see our firing pin protrusion right there. Now we can put the striker spring back in. And I'm going to leave that just like that right now, because I got to push that one back in to get this thing to go together. Down, a little bit of a turn. I'm going to let it rest right there. We're going to press this one all the way down in. And you can see that this one's going to rest a little bit lower than that one, so I can slide this. If you have a Strike 1, or if you have a gun that's may not have that system built into it, or if you have an issue with it, it will rest and hold this part in first, because this hangs down lower, so this back plate will hold that in, and you can always use a pin to push that in further and then slide that up, but this is going to work just fine. Now that I have the back plate there, what keeps the back plate fixed there is undoing this. If it'll give me my key back, there we go. Good to go. Put back together. Now the rest is back to the field strip type of mode. Put that in, put the locking block in. See this? One part of the locking block has a curved corner and one has a 90-degree angle. Curved corner, always towards the rear. Can't put it in the other way, but when you look at it, you get used to seeing that curved corner. Put that towards the rear of the gun. All right, push this in, set it down. All right, upper has been taken apart, slide and put all the way back together, so we're good there. Now let's take a look at the lower here, or the subframe. We're going to take that out. So you want to clean this whole thing, deep clean it, no problem. Let's push up on this capture pin right here with my punch. It just relieves tension on this pin because there's a divot in the pin right there being held. So I lift it up, pulled this right out. Now, get your roll of duct tape. That's what I use. Knock out that rear pin. Knock out front pin. And then use this to get in between the frame, subframe, and the grip. Pull the whole thing out just like that. And I put my hand over it because these things all go together and they could just fall out. So I pull the whole thing out together and then dump the pieces here. All right, let's see what we got here. So here's the pin I was just talking about. So this was actually captured right in there with that pin. So I'm going to take this pin out. There we go. Now I'm going to take this little retaining pin here. I don't know the names of all these. I used to know the names years ago. I don't nerd out like that anymore. That holds your disconnector up nice and straight when it's hitting the sear right there. Now, these hold the trigger group in, these two pins right here. I'm just going to give this a little tap. Sometimes you don't even need to tap all of these. Sometimes they just come right out. Sometimes there's a little friction, but it's just so easy to give them a little tap to get them out. There we go. This, what is this little guy called here? Number 7. Trigger spring rod. That's another reason why I don't remember all the names. The naming conventions don't seem to make a lot of sense in English. Trigger spring rod, but whatever. There we go. There's that pin. Now your trigger spring can come out. Take, she's got a little lube in there, so there's our trigger spring right there. And now we'll take out the whole trigger assembly here. There we go. There you go. And of course, if you were ever interested in getting this totally slicked up, we do that. We'll polish all these parts that are meeting each other, and this trigger can be 200% better. And it's good stock. It's a good stock. We just get them really, really good. Now what I'm going to do is, takes a little coordination, not a lot. I'm going to take my fingernail and put it right on the back of the sear here, and I'm going to push it down like that, because see that part of the sear? It's underneath the subframe. You can't take it out now. You got to move it to the side, then push it out this way. And there is a back side of the sear here. There's a pin right there. So that's what we're going to push in right there. So I'm going to pull that over to the side and hold it, and then have my other finger right here, because this stuff is going to fly out of this side. I'm going to fly out of that hole there. So hear that snap? So there's our sear. This is what wanted to fly out right there. There's your sear spring and your sear. I want to name that. What is the name of that? Number 11. Sear spring, the sear spring pin. So you have this inside the subframe, and then you have this touching up against the back of that, and that's what's giving it tension. So you can imagine if you polish that, and if you were to polish the back side of this, those two pieces will be mated up really good, and you won't feel any grit right there. All right, let's see what else we got here. That's it. It's all, this is ready to sonic clean, deep clean, whatever. Okay, so there's your subframe. This is the actual gun. This is technically, legally, the gun. There's your serial number right there. This is the grip, just the Gen 2 grip. The only thing that is in here is the pins for the grip, and we might as well go ahead and show you how to do that real quick. Let's do that. Let's do that real quick. I'm going to knock out this pin right here. There's one. There's two. Okay, with these two pins out, they're the same length, identical. Now, that can all come off. And of course, your Type B would have come with a short one like this, so you could put that short one, it ends right there, and that's when the 13-round mag, whenever that comes out, it'll end right there. Okay, and of course you could go longer, you can go thicker, wider. They're all in the kit with you, but that's how that works. Pretty genius the way that spline works right there. You can see the way that looks. I mean, it's really, really in there good once this whole thing is put back together. So that can go there now. And then my beveled magwell is going to slide right up in. Oops, did it wrong. This goes here first. Okay, now this goes back in. Reverse operation. I'm going to put those two pins back in right now. Do not be intimidated if you just got one of these guns. Get yourself a simple little gunsmith kit, even just a hammer and a few punches. You could do all this stuff. Super easy. Always fun getting new skills, learning new. Don't stop growing, y'all. Don't stop. I'm very anal about making sure those are exactly the same, that it's right in the middle. Looking good there. In the back, got to knock this one back a little bit. It's about 1.5 millimeters too far. 0.5 millimeter too far. And I want to feel, yep, good to go. All right, so let's say you want to take this apart. This isn't so much for cleaning, but let's say you got to take that apart. Because you like to mess with your gadgets and know them well. And in knowing them well, you got to take that thing apart, okay? Before I do that, I got to make sure I have the right pieces to put that sucker back together. Otherwise, I'm going to have to pause it. All right, very easy. Oh no, let's say you want to flip this around because it's ambidextrous. That's even better. I'm not going to knock that pin out and take the internals out. I'm going to just take this off and we're going to swap the magazine release around. Okay, so there we go. I got the mag button right there. You can see the way it looks inside. I'm just going to shove that all the way out. Grab it with my hand. Pull it. Now you can see this thing in here dangling. When I put it back in, this has to go all the way this way. Then I slide that magazine release button back in. Okay. So let's just get it started right here. Right there. Now I'm going to pull this all the way forward with my finger. Right there. Okay. Almost there. I'm just going to press it to make it straight here. Let me look at this side. There we go. I put it back in the same way. Anyway, if you want to do it the other way, I just put it back together because I'm a right-hander. You could put it in this way because it is ambi. Okay, it's a little bit crooked right there. I'm just going to pull it with my finger until it's lined up. Ta-da, there we go. Now let's put this back together. Kind of like a AR-15 mag release button, just got a certain shape on the back of that. Intersects right with the button. It's recessed in there, so that's pretty cool. And we are working on a 3D printed. It's a pretty rad magazine release button. Everyone's asking for it. So we're going to do that. Now I can magazine release with my finger, Euro style, or with my thumb. Okay, if I was a left-hander. All right, let's throw this thing back together now. Let's get this subframe put back together. Okay, it's going to be easy peasy. First things first, let's drop this in here. So I got my sear spring and my sear button, whatever you call it. What did I call that again? That is number, oh yeah, sear spring pin. That makes sense actually, sear spring pin. Now I get my sear, put the sear in the hole. It's not, this part is, that little ledge right there that I said we'd polish earlier is going to go all the way down into that hole. So you're going to have to press that down and then press the sear in. Super easy technique though. Get it started just like that. Then use your punch. Do not lose track of this though, because that thing will fly and you'll never find it. So I'm pushing it all the way down. Now my sear is in the right spot. It's weird doing this with the camera here. All right. Okay. So you can see my sear is over the top right now, but I have that, it's holding that sear spring pin and spring all the way down there. So all I'm going to do is press down and move the sear this way, and that's going to go over that subframe and click into place. There you go, just like that. So just move it to the side, press it down. Now it's captured in there and it's not going anywhere right now. All right, so the sear part is done. Let's move forward. Do this guy last, take down spring last, because they have a habit of flying out. You don't want to mess with this while that thing is somewhat sitting in its channel right here. Okay, now you want to grab your trigger. Everything's a housing group. Your trigger housing group. All right, get that right up into position right here. What's going to keep it in here is this spring. So this goes into a hole right there. It's going to go into that hole, and then I'm just going to use my thumbnail to slide that down, and this piece sits up in a groove. in the groove right there. All right, let's do this real quick. Right down into that hole, and then fingernail. Now it's sitting where it's supposed to be. Cool. Trigger spring. Let's measure this. I want to measure it, and I want to do this in thousandths, because this trigger is actually got this gun has a trigger job in it. 18.15 is the length of that, and I know my stock competition triggers, which are about 2 pounds lighter, 18.25. So they're the same length. I'm just going to go to a lighter spring right here. Put that one in there, then take our little trigger plunger pin. This little return spring, make sure that that is, you could barely see it right there. Make sure that is pushed down to the side here and not up in the middle, getting stuck between this little crevice right here. Just, it should be all the way down right there and out of the way. Now, I'm going to use my thumb, put some tension on that spring, press it in while I look through this hole right here. Gosh, I need to be in the middle here. This is kind of awkward. So I'm just going to look in here and make sure that I can see all the way daylight in there. And the nice thing about this is the end of this pin is rounded a little bit, so it'll go right in there. And you only want to put it in halfway. Okay? So that pin just now went halfway. It's sitting in the middle of this. There's a hole in that right below that. It's sitting in the middle. And the reason why you do that is because then you take your ink stick, empty or full, whatever, empty side, and I'm going to put that little return pin in there, pull it towards the back, and then push the trigger in with this finger, and then push that pin in all the way, because that pin needs tension on it to return the trigger, so it's got to be on this side of the bar. Sure enough, everything's looking good, but we got another pin. This pin's going to go here. I just like to tap that one on just a little bit. Same thing. It's setting right on the back of that hammer part. Oh, I don't know what that part is called, but I do want to look right now. Where is it at? Aha! Does that say that's number 10? Trigger, they call that the trigger safety, number 10. That's part number 10. Anyway, it's right on the back of there resting, and it's actually, when it's resting like that, it's keeping tension on that trigger plunger right there. So I'm going to do this once again. Press, pull, put this little trigger return spring in my ink stick, pull back, and I just press forward. Now it's actually setting on the back of that bar. That's where we want it. Otherwise your trigger reset's going to feel a little funny. Okay, these are all flush. Looking good right there. Not quite. There we go. All flush right there. Now, this guy will fall out. This holds the sear spring in, goes right in there, but it's just going to fall out on its own, so I kind of didn't last. I'm going to do this one now. Here's the technique to put in the takedown pin. Start here, put it in just like that, and hold it with your thumbnail hard. Try to do this so you guys can see. Right in here, hold it hard, and then I'm going to drag it up to here, and then I'm going to snap it into place like that. That didn't work. Well, let's try it again. Let's do it again. There we go. See, told you this thing wants to fall out. It's going to want to fall out, but I'm going to get it in there right. I'm just in a weird position trying to film this. We're going to get it right. There we go. Okay, now it's sitting in there right. You can press right in there. I got it out. This guy thinks he knows how to work on these guns. A lot of times they just sit right in there, but sometimes you get one that this spring is a little bit awkward and it wants to give you problems. Like this one. This one is so odd. This one is acting super odd. All right. Whoa. Let me get it off camera. I think my technique's messed up from being sideways. That is so weird. Of course, because I'm filming, that's why. Okay. Setting right in there. We don't want that thing to jump out. Now I can put the sear spring, capture spring back in. This is my slide lock release lever spring right there. Line up that hole. It's going to sit in this recess pretty good. And I'm just going to hold it like that. Then this one goes in, I always do that one last. Then prep your grip. And while holding it all together, you just get the trigger into that hole. And then I like to look right here and make sure that's right above that. There we go. Oh, that feels good. Now I can put this together, put this at an angle, because you can see where the pin is right in there. I don't want to go straight into that pin. It will work, but I want to put it in an angle and move the pin over. Be a little bit courteous. There we go. Now I can put the slide on. If you're working on the gun and you want to function check it and check everything else before you put the pins back in, that pin will be enough. We're not going to put the, and now of course, just like we did at the end of our field strip. All right, it's all working good. It feels weird with that magazine release button there. And it feels weird being across my body like this because the camera is taking center stage. Do that number. I want to do this. And you want to be careful. You don't want to knock this one in too far because you'll start hitting the frame. You just want to give it a few taps like that. Then use a better punch here. This one has actually a tip on it. The other one, the flat one, worked good to knock them out, but I don't want to miss. I don't want this thing to slip off right now and mar the frame. So this one has a little bit of a ballpoint tip on it. Hopefully everyone had an awesome Thanksgiving. We're rolling into the holidays here. There's our take up. All right, that's good. And now the gun's all put together. We did a function check, and that is how you break down your Type B all the way and put it back together. For whatever reason, want to swap out a part for warranty, maintenance, deep cleaning, or just because. All right, thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you guys next time.